Hey everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Let us begin with today's topic, which is cysts of oral cavity. To begin with, what a cyst is. A cyst can be defined as a pathological cavity that may or may not be lined by epithelium containing semi-solid, liquid and gaseous material. So, what and all are the parts of a cyst? Firstly, we have the cystic lumen. Lumen is the central area of the cyst, जहाँ से हम लोग एस्पिरेट निकालते हैं, राइट. द ल्यूमन में कंटेन सेमी सॉलिड, लिक्विड और गैसियस मटेरियल. Then is the lining epithelium. The lining epithelium may be derived from odontogenic epithelium or others. If the lining epithelium is present, the cyst is labeled as a true cyst, and those cysts without the lining epithelium are known as pseudocysts or false cysts. The third component is the connective tissue stroma, which consists of fibroblasts and collagen fibrils. Now, coming to the classification of cysts according to WHO 2017. First, we have odontogenic cysts. Odontogenic cysts are those that are derived from the odontogenic epithelium. These may be classified further as developmental odontogenic cysts and inflammatory odontogenic cysts. Coming to the developmental odontogenic cysts, they may further be classified into intraosseous and extraosseous. For intraosseous cysts, we have the mnemonic GODLOCK, which you can remember by what Kareena Kapoor always says: good looks, and good looks. So G stands for glandular odontogenic cyst or GOC. O stands for orthokeratinized variant of the OKC. D stands for dentigerous cyst. L for lateral periodontal cyst. O for orthokeratinized keratocyst, that is OKC. C for COC. Next we have the extraosseous developmental cyst, which can be remembered by the mnemonic BEG, B-E-G. B for botryoid cyst, E for eruption cyst, and G for gingival cyst of newborn and adult. Next we have the inflammatory cyst, जिसके लिए we have to remember the line बेटा आज रुकेगा in Punjab. B for buccal bifurcation cyst, A for apical periodontal cyst, R for residual cyst, I for inflammatory cyst, P for paradental cyst. Coming to the non-odontogenic cysts, they can again be classified as developmental and inflammatory. The developmental intraosseous ones include nasopalatine duct cyst, globulomaxillary cyst, median palatine cyst, and median mandibular cyst. They can be remembered by the mnemonic NAGMA. Coming to the extraosseous ones, they can be remembered by the word pointed. So here I does not stand for anything. Apart from that, P stands for palatal cyst of the newborn, O for oral lymphoepithelial cyst, N for nasolabial cyst, T for thyroglossal cyst, E for epidermoid cyst, and D for dermoid cyst. Coming to the inflammatory non-odontogenic cysts, these include traumatic bone cysts and aneurysmal bone cysts. Now, note for all of you, which is a very important PYQ if you are preparing for NEET MDS. Most common cyst of the oral cavity is the radicular cyst. Most common odontogenic cyst is again the radicular cyst. Most common inflammatory cyst is again the radicular cyst. Most common developmental odontogenic cyst, it is the dentigerous cyst. Most common developmental non-odontogenic cyst is MAMC, which is median anterior maxillary cyst or the nasopalatine duct cyst. Then coming to the cyst with antero-posterior expansion, it is OKC. Most common recurrence is seen by OKC. Most aggressive cyst is dentigerous followed by OKC. Remember, OKC is more recurrent because of the presence of satellite cysts. However, when it comes to aggressive nature, dentigerous cysts are far more aggressive because they lead to hollowing off of the entire ramus in extreme cases. Now, coming to the odontogenic cysts, let us begin with the most recurrent, that is the OKC, odontogenic keratocyst or OKC. It is also known as primordial cyst. Now, it is named so because the epithelium, it forms too much keratin that fills the entire cystic lumen. Classification: it is a developmental odontogenic cyst, it is an intraosseous odontogenic cyst, and third most common odontogenic cyst. It is derived from the dental lamina. Etiology: it is associated with patch 1 gene mutation. Again, very important PYQ. Clinical features: it has a bimodal recurrence. It can be seen at second to third decade of life and also around the sixth decade of life. Coming to the male and female predilection, it is more common in the females, more common in the posterior mandibular region. Common sites include those with presence of an impacted tooth, which is niche wala 8, most commonly associated with mandibular impacted third molars. Coming to the signs and symptoms, it is characterized by pain and tissue swelling. Remember, tissue swelling occurs very late in OKC because of the antero-posterior expansion of the OKC. Normally, other cysts, they expand in mesodistal dimension, causing gross facial asymmetry at a very early stage. However, for OKC, there is antero-posterior expansion, which means the face appears relatively very symmetrical. Coming to the symptoms, it is also characterized by lip and teeth paresthesia, and it may be secondarily infected. Aspirate of this lesion contains cheesy material. So cheesy material is the characteristic feature of OKC, and also the protein content in the aspirate differentiates it from the dentigerous cyst. Coming to the radiographic feature, it is unilocular, radiolucent, well-defined peripheral rim is seen. Adjacent tooth may show root resorption. One thing which differentiates OKC from dentigerous cyst is that the dentigerous cyst, it is always attached to the tooth at the level of CEJ. If you see the cyst, a cystic lining attached to the tooth at the level of CEJ, then there are more chances that it is an OKC and not, it is a dentigerous cyst and not an OKC. Moving further, what are the histological features? So we will start by looking at this diagram. So first and foremost, we have a corrugated parakeratinized epithelium. Corrugated means wrinkled. Cystic lumen, it is surrounded by corrugated parakeratinized epithelium. Now the parakeratinized epithelium, it is stratified, okay, and it is characterized by the presence of pycnotic nuclei, which means nuclear remnants are seen in the topmost layer of the epithelium, that is the stratum corneum. Apart from that, the stratum granulosum is less prominent. Okay, moving further, the basal layer, it shows picket fence appearance, which means tall columnar cells with nuclear palisading, means nuclei are arranged at the same level in all cells, and there is reversal of basal polarity, means normally the nuclei are supposed to be towards the basement membrane, but in this case they are away from the basement membrane. Moving further, it is also characterized by peeling of epithelium. See, you can see here in this image, the epithelium peels away from the connective tissue, making the lining more friable and recurrence more high. Another characteristic feature is the satellite cysts. These are the most notorious part of the OKC that is responsible for high rate of recurrence. So coming to the treatment for large cysts is marsupialization followed by chemical cautery with Carnoy solution. Carnoy solution is a mixture of glacial acetic acid and FeSO4, which is used for chemically cauterizing and removal of the satellite cyst, which cannot be removed by other methods. Then comes enucleation. Enucleation is for smaller cysts that are away from vital structures. Now coming to the main criteria for OKC. First is replacemental. Replacemental OKC is the one which is associated with a missing tooth, but there is no history of extraction. Next is envelopmental. It surrounds an impacted tooth. Then it is extraneous, which is in the ramus region. Then there is collateral, which is between two teeth. Now, another important feature is its association with the nevoid basal cell carcinoma syndrome or Gorlin-Gold syndrome. So what is NBCCS? Again, very important PYQ. NBCCS or Gorlin-Gold syndrome, it is an autosomal dominant disorder characterized by patch gene mutation, chromosome number 9. It is characterized by bifid ribs, palmoplantar keratosis, ocular hypertelorism, frontal bossing, multiple basal cell carcinomas, and multiple OKCs. Apart from that, there is calcification of falx cerebri. Now, another variant of OKC is the orthokeratinized keratocyst or OOC. It is not associated with Gorlin-Golds. No palisading is seen. It does not show picket fence appearance. It has onion skin appearance. Okay. Moving further, let us proceed towards dentigerous cyst. Dentigerous cyst is the most common odontogenic cyst. It is the most common developmental odontogenic cyst. Most common odontogenic cyst is the radicular cyst. Dentigerous cyst is the most common developmental odontogenic cyst, also known as follicular cyst, also known as pericoronal cyst. So it is a cyst that surrounds the crown of an impacted tooth caused by fluid accumulation between the reduced enamel epithelium and the tooth surface. Origin, it is developmental in origin. Fluid accumulation can be follicular, parafollicular. Epidemiology, it is more common in 2nd to 3rd decade of life, because at this time the third molar is usually at a erupting stage. So at this time the chances of dentigerous cyst is fairly high. Male to female ratio, it is more common in the males. Clinical features, it is associated with the crown of an impacted, unerupted or supernumerary tooth. Commonly seen in third molar region, most common in mandibular third molar region, followed by maxillary third molar region, and least then in maxillary canine. It is usually solitary. However, multiple dentigerous cysts can be seen in cleidocranial dysplasia and Mortex-Lamy syndrome. Mortex-Lamy syndrome is a mucopolysaccharide disorder. And cleidocranial dysplasia, it is due to the core binding factor alpha 1 mutation. Then moving to the sequel of dentigerous cyst, sequel and complication, it can lead to hollowing out of the entire ramus. That's why it is considered a more aggressive cyst in comparison to OKC. And apart from that, it can lead to expansion of the cortical plate, facial asymmetry, extreme tooth displacement, root resorption of the adjacent teeth. Other long-standing dentigerous cyst can also transform into squamous cell carcinoma, epidermoid carcinoma, and mucoepidermoid carcinoma. There are 3 types of dentigerous cyst radiographically. These include central, lateral, and circumferential. Now, the difference, how will you differentiate between a follicle and a dentigerous cyst? So, dentigerous cyst में the follicular space is greater than 5 mm. However, in the normal follicle of surrounding the unerupted tooth, it is less than 5 mm. So, if there is more than 5 mm space, then you have to suspect for a dentigerous cyst. Moving on to the histological features. This is a hand-drawn diagram. The dentigerous cyst is, this is the cystic lumen. The lining of the lumen, it is reduced enamel epithelium-like stratified, non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. However, this is not extensively stratified, so it is better to call it reduced enamel epithelium-like lining epithelium, which is 2 to 4 layer thick. These are the daughter cysts, or you can say islands of odontogenic epithelium. These are the capillaries. These are the collagen fibrils and fibroblasts. This is the connective tissue stroma. Moving further, now as you can see, it is written over here. It is lined by 3 to 4 layers of non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, thin connective tissue wall, retipex are absent. presence of islands of odontogenic epithelium. Rushton bodies may be seen. So Rushton bodies are hairpin-like bodies that are present in dentigerous cysts, OKC, and radicular cysts. Okay, then the lumen is filled with thin water, straw, yellow fluid or blood-tinged fluid. It is thin. For OKC, the secretion was very cheesy, but for dentigerous cyst, it is thin straw-colored fluid. Treatment options include enucleation for removal, then marsupialization. That's it. This is not valid. Sorry. Coming to the glandular odontogenic cyst, it is also known as Cial odontogenic cyst. It is very similar to the lining of the maxillary sinus and also derives its components from the salivary gland. So it is known as Cial odontogenic cyst. Cial means it is related to salivary gland. Also glandular, again related to gland. Origin is from dental lamina. It is more common in males, more common in anterior mandible. All the cysts that we have studied till now, they are more common in the posterior segment of mandible, but GOC, it is more common in the anterior mandible. It is again painless for ages 40 to 70. Radiographically, it is a multilocular radiolucency, which means there are septa present between the radiolucencies. Histologically, it is lined by non-keratinized epithelium, presence of cuboidal cells with the hobnail appearance. Hobnail मतलब कुछ ऐसा appearance जो कील दीवार में ठोकते हैं उसका appearance होता है, तो it has a hobnail appearance. Then there is presence of ciliated cells similar to the maxillary sinus, as I told you. Ciliated cells and Goblet cells. Goblet cells are nothing but mucus producing cells. The treatment is conservative and treatment is done only if the cyst is symptomatic. Moving to the lateral periodontal cyst. Its origin is again from the dental lamina. Hallmark is distinctive focal plaque-like thickening. This is again a PYQ. More common in males than females. Most commonly seen in lower bicuspid region associated with lateral surface of a vital tooth. Okay, how do you differentiate it from a radicular cyst? Radicular cyst is always associated with the non-vital tooth. However, the lateral periodontal cyst is associated with the vital tooth. Then it is again asymptomatic. Coming to botryoid cyst. Botryoid is derives its name because it resembles cluster of grapes. Grapes का जो गुच्छा है, botryoid cyst resembles that. It has a multilocular radiolucency and it is considered to be a soft tissue counterpart of the lateral periodontal cyst. Moving further. Next in queue is the eruption cyst or eruption hematoma. Eruption cyst or eruption hematoma is not actually a true cyst. It is just a soft tissue counterpart of the dentigerous cyst. What happens is that when a tooth is erupting, if the soft tissue barrier is too thick and the tooth is not able to penetrate it, then blood and other fluids accumulate between the tooth and the gingiva. This leads to a well circumscribed fluctuant mass with a reddish blue tinge, which is nothing but the eruption hematoma. It does not require any treatment, but if the patient, usually the child, if he is in a severe pain, then surgical incision may be given so that the tooth can easily erupt. Next is the gingival cyst of newborn. Gingival cyst of newborn includes bones nodules. Bones nodules are present at the junction of the hard and soft palate. Epstein pulse is present in mid-palatine raphe. P in Epstein, P in palate. Mid-palatine raphe. It is formed by the entrapment of epithelium at the site of fusion of suture. Next comes the radicular cyst or root end cyst or apical periodontal cyst. It is the most common odontogenic cyst, most common inflammatory odontogenic cyst. It is formed as a sequel of pulpal inflammation, which means if a tooth, it develops caries, then caries, if untreated, progresses to cause irreversible pulpitis, further causes apical periodontitis, then it may either lead to abscess or lead to cyst formation. Okay. Now, radicular cyst, it's not developmental, it's inflammatory. Etiology, it is formed as a sequel of pulpal cell death. Age, it can occur in any ages, 20 to 60, because as caries progresses, it leads to cyst formation. Associated with non-vital tooth, more common in maxillary anterior region due to trauma. Most commonly, if it occurs due to caries, it occurs in the mandibular posterior region. If it occurs due to trauma, it is most common in the maxillary anterior region. Usually solitary, painful only if infected. Then If it is there for a long time, it may cause draining fistula. Radiographically, there are two things. That one is granuloma and one is cyst. Difference between granuloma and cyst radiographically is that granuloma has size less than 1.5 centimeter and also it does not have a corticated border. But the border wala criteria, it is not universally true, because if the cyst becomes infected, it will lose its corticated border. So radicular cyst, unilocular radiolucency greater than 1.5 centimeter associated with non-vital tooth, peripheral corticated border unless infected. Coming to the histological features, as you can see, this cyst is known for showing arcading pattern. Arcading means अगर आपने कोई पुरानी monuments देखी होंगी तो उसमें dome shaped structures. The hallway, it has multiple door like structures. This is known as arcades. So as you can see, the epithelium is thrown into multiple folds, multiple arcades, which contains entrapped connective tissue stroma. The epithelium lining it is non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, 5 to 50 cell thick. It contains Rushton bodies, which as I said are hairpin-like bodies. No reticular formation is seen, arcading present. Another notorious feature in this is the cholesterol clefts. Now cholesterol crystals are washed out during tissue processing. It leads to the formation of such sharp spiny projections in the connective tissue stroma. This is known as cholesterol clefts. Apart from that, since it is inflammatory in nature, obviously you will see multinucleated giant cell. Treatment, it may be RCT or enucleation. RCT is done in case of a true cyst. True cyst is the one, RCT is done in case of a base cyst. Base cyst is the one that opens into the apical foramina. So this is the root, the cyst opens into the apical foramina of the root. Then RCT can be used to drain the content of the cyst. If there is no communication between the root and the cyst, then enucleation and endodontic surgery is the choice of treatment. Coming further to the periodontal cyst. Periodontal cyst finds its origin from the cell death of molasses associated with the distal and facial aspect of the lower 8. This is the mandibular third molar. Buccal bifurcation, as the name suggests, it lies in the bifurcation of lower first molar on the buccal aspect. It is associated with the periodontal pocket, more common in kids, hence called juvenile cyst. Coming to the non-odontogenic cysts. So the developmental non-odontogenic cysts include two most important cysts, which is the median anterior maxillary cyst or the nasopalatine cyst. So the nasopalatine cyst is formed by the all the non-odontogenic cysts, in fact most of the developmental non-odontogenic cysts, they are formed because of the entrapment of epithelium along embryonic lines of fusion. So they are known as fissural cysts. MAMC is the most common non-odontogenic cyst. It is seen between the maxillary central incisors as a heart-shaped radiolucency. Okay, the cyst of the incisor papilla is the soft tissue counterpart of this. Cyst of the incisor papilla may be painful if it is large in size because of the sensitization of the nasopalatine nerves and vessels. Moving further, globulomaxillary cyst. Globulomaxillary cyst, it is formed in the region of the globular process, occurs at the site of fusion with the globular process and the maxillary process. So what is the globular process? It forms somewhere here between the lateral incisor and the canine. That is, the segment globular process is the region basically where premaxilla and maxilla unite with each other. So this is the palate, this is premaxilla, this is maxilla, this is the region where globulomaxillary cyst is formed. It has a inverted pear-shaped appearance, inverted pear-shaped or light bulb-shaped appearance radiographically. Its soft tissue counterpart includes nasolabial cyst. Nasolabial cyst is derived from the nasolacrimal duct. It does not have any radiographic feature except for bone saucerization. The bone, because of pressure, forms a saucer-like shape. Moving further, next comes the traumatic cyst and the Stepney cyst. These are the most important cysts for your competitive exams. Always it is asked the difference between these two. So traumatic cyst, as the name suggests, it is associated with the history of trauma. It is an incidental finding. It is asymptomatic. How does it occur? Trauma occurs, there occurs bleeding, but the clot formation is disrupted. So there is an empty cavity. When you aspirate the cyst, there is nothing. No aspirate is derived, so it is known as a dry tap, and it is very solitary. Radiographically, it has a scallop margin and always above the inferior alveolar nerve canal. It is very important. It was asked in INI-CET 2025 November attempt. So traumatic cyst, it always tends to follow the root outline. So it will have an outline like this. Okay, Stephanes bone cyst, it is also known as static bone cyst, latent bone cyst. It also has a dry tap, but it is always located inferior to the alveolar canal. Below the inferior alveolar canal, it is Stephanes bone cyst. Moving further, the last cyst for today and the last one in this chapter, it is COC. Now, why COC has been kept away from other cysts is because sometimes it is classified as a cyst, sometimes it is classified as a neoplast. So let us begin with COC. There is nothing much about COC. It is just that you have to understand it with the help of a diagram. Calcifying odontogenic cyst. So as the name suggests, there is calcification. So the calcification may be seen in the epithelium. Apart from that, there is stellate reticulum-like layer present in the cystic lining. Connective tissue stroma is present. Palisading nuclei are seen. Another important feature is ghost cell. Ghost cell is the cell in which all the organelles, they are lost and just the eosinophilic body with only the cell outline is present. So that is known as ghost cell. Coming to the clinical features, it is most common in the second decade of life. Sexual predilection is equal in males and females, more common in maxilla. Okay. This is the only cyst that is most common in only odontogenic cyst, which is more common in maxilla. Most odontogenic cysts are common in the posterior mandible, except for the glandular odontogenic cyst, which is common in the anterior mandible. It is asymptomatic, painless. Lingual expansion may be seen. Pedunculated gingival mass may be seen. Markers, this is presence of laminin 5. Okay. So this was all about odontogenic cysts. Hope you find this video helpful. If you do, please like, share, subscribe, and please feel free to share any feedback. Your feedback will help us improve. Thanks and see you soon.